The principal, very impressed, remarked on how humorous Fang Yi was and offered any further help he might need. Ji Royan, however, interrupted, telling the principal she needed to speak with Fang Yi about some things. The principal happily excused himself, leaving the two of them alone. Once he was gone, Ji Royan turned to Fang Yi, her tone direct and serious. She told him that he had been hiding his true depths very well. Fang Yi tried to play it off casually, saying that the Skyfire was indeed powerful and hard to deal with, but she saw right through his act. With a sharp look, she told him to stop pretending, making it clear that she wasn't talking about the fire, but about his own incredible talent and level of power. Ji Royan dropped her intense questioning, admitting that it was normal for pioneers to have secrets, especially for one as powerful as him. Fang Yi simply listened with a calm expression. Her tone then shifted, becoming more serious and sincere. She explained that although she had no right to ask anything of him, she hoped he would listen carefully. She painted a dark picture of a future world in chaos, a time of great change where the Xia nation would desperately need top-tier talents like him. She put his potential into clear perspective, telling him that once the spiritual energy fully revived, a person of his power would be as important as a modern-day nuclear weapon. Because of this, she warned, every major power, from the various military forbidden zones to the Spiritual Energy Association, would rush to recruit him. She told him to be prepared for high-level officials to personally give him invitations with incredibly generous offers. She admitted she had her own reasons for telling him this. If he were to join her military unit, it would be a great asset, and they would gain a powerful friend. Therefore, she advised him to start thinking about his options now, so he wouldn't be caught off guard when the time came. Fang Yi, however, was silent for a moment before asking a curious question. He asked why both she and Wang Liang seemed so hesitant to recruit him for their own forbidden zone, even acting as if they weren't worthy. Ji Royan explained that it was because of another legendary military region, a group so insanely powerful that she felt he would be far more interested in joining them instead. A small smirk appeared on Fang Yi's face as he confirmed if she meant a top-level unit. She confirmed that was the case, though she admitted she hadn't seen them much herself. She had heard they were extremely busy lately, so much so that even officers from other military regions were feeling the pressure of their activities. Changing the subject, she suggested they stop talking and go, as the principal had invited them to eat at the university cafeteria. As they walked, Fang Yi silently concluded that even the nation's most powerful forces were facing their own big troubles. His mind raced with the implications. Ji Royan's words meant that terrifying anomalies, with power far beyond the capabilities of current pioneers, had already begun to appear. He realized that the pioneers fighting these threats must include spirit creation realm cultivators like himself, and perhaps some who were even stronger. A new sense of urgency washed over him. He felt that the day of the full spiritual energy revival was fast approaching, and his preparations were still far from enough. His thoughts then shifted back to the immediate task at hand, how to best use the Skyfire attribute he had just collected. He analyzed its nature, an irregular, wild, and all-consuming flame that left nothing in its wake. He realized it would be the perfect weapon against anomalies that could reproduce or regenerate endlessly. Suddenly, an idea struck him. The wild and powerful nature of the Skyfire was a perfect match for his Crimson Flame Blade technique. He imagined enchanting his sword with this new power, realizing it would be an incredible enhancement to his fighting style. To test his new powers, Fang Yi heads to the back mountain, a place he often uses for training. When he arrives, he is surprised to find the path blocked by a large sign warning that the mountain is dangerous and entry is forbidden. He wonders who could have done this. He knows there haven't been any monsters in the area, and he doubts the military would have found his training spot so quickly. He concludes that the only group that would know his habits and do him such a favor would be the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association. He realizes the association has gifted him this place as a private training ground, a way to win his favor. With a smile, he decides to accept their gesture. However, his thoughts are interrupted when his sharp senses detect an unwanted presence. He realizes an intruder has managed to sneak onto the mountain. Fang Yi senses a familiar aura, similar to the one he felt at the factory, though not as strong. Hidden among the trees, a monstrous, monkey-like creature with glowing red eyes watches him. Fang Yi notices the beast seems smart, as it hesitates and checks his strength instead of attacking blindly. With his sword already glowing with energy, he decides it's the perfect time for a show of power. A system window appears before him, asking if he wants to put the newly acquired Skyfire attribute into his Tang sword. The system describes Skyfire as a powerful light attribute, perfect for destroying evil. With a fiery determination in his eyes, Fang Yi accepts. Immediately, his sword erupts in a column of endless, crackling flames. With an excited smirk, he looks forward to combining the endless power of Skyfire with his Crimson Flame Blade technique. He decides the mutant creature will be his first test subject. Fang Yi unleashes a massive firestorm on the monster. The creature is taken by surprise, its eyes widening in terror before it is completely covered by the storm of flames, screeching in pain. Standing in the middle of the flames he created, Fang Yi checks his new ability. He realizes the energy of his attack is now double, or even triple, what it was before, and most importantly, the flames do not harm him. He touches the blade of his sword, still covered in fire, and notes that it feels cool. Suddenly, he senses that the creature has survived the attack and is trying to escape. With a determined look, he decides to chase the intruder to see what it's capable of. Meanwhile, deep in the same forest, a young woman with curly red hair is doing a live stream from her phone, mounted on a selfie stick. She tells her viewers that she isn't a liar, but that she has always been incredibly lucky, and that amazing content just seems to find her. Her viewers are doubtful, with one commenter daring her to prove her luck by going to Qingcheng University to film the mysterious Skyfire that everyone is talking about. Her confident broadcast is suddenly interrupted as her expression changes to one of pure shock. The monkey-like monster that escaped from Fang Yi leaps out of the woods and attacks her viciously. The force of the attack sends her phone flying, its screen cracking as it hits the ground, but the live stream continues. Through the cracked screen, her viewers see the monster pinning her to the ground, but they think it's just a fake fight with bad special effects. The streamer, however, is in real danger. She cries in terror as the monster holds her down, its paw covering her mouth. The creature opens its massive, fanged mouth, ready to deliver a deadly bite. Before it can strike, a massive blast of fiery energy shaped like a dragon's head hits the monster, sending it flying back. The streamer looks up in shock, saved at the last second. Her viewers are now blown away, not by the realism of the danger, but by what they believe are incredible fire dragon special effects. The sudden, dramatic turn of events causes her viewership to shoot up to over 13,000 people. Still terrified, the streamer looks over her shoulder, asking who is there. She scrambles to grab her phone from the ground. Getting to her feet, she aims the camera at the source of the attack. She stands before a raging fire and shouts to her audience that she has captured it on film, that there is a person standing inside the fire. Her camera captures the silhouette of Fang Yi standing completely unharmed within the flames. In her terrified and amazed mind, she concludes that she has just been rescued by a true immortal. The video of Fang Yi's rescue of the live streamer, Malala, instantly goes viral. It becomes the top trending topic online, with over 13.5 million views. The headlines are dramatic, calling him a mysterious man of Skyfire, the king of flames, and an immortal come down to Earth to save the world. In an office, Chu Qingli's friend excitedly calls her over to look at the video on her computer screen. She is thrilled, telling Chu Qingli that this proves powerful cultivators are real and that the Skyfire at the university was no fake. Chu Qingli, however, is dismissive, telling her friend not to believe such things and that it's all just acting and special effects. But as she looks closer at the screen, her doubtful expression freezes into one of shock and recognition. Her friend, not noticing her reaction, points excitedly at the screen, triumphantly saying she was right and commenting on how handsome the man in the video is, before noticing her friend's stunned silence. Internally, Chu Qingli is in turmoil. She desperately tells herself the video must be fake and that the figure only looks like Fang Yi. She reasons that if it were really him, he would have been burned to ash by such intense flames. Her denial then shifts to fear as she considers the possibility that it truly is him. She worries that he might use his new power to get revenge on her for their breakup, but she stubbornly resolves that she will never bow her head to him, no matter what. Elsewhere, the red-haired leader of Lin Yiyi's pioneer squad shows the same video to Yiyi on her phone. The leader asks if the man looks familiar, suggesting he's the same person who saved them from the monstrous vine. Yiyi agrees that he does, and then adds a stunning piece of information. She recently learned that a powerful master who broke through to the spirit creation realm lives in her neighborhood. She begins to wonder if her quiet cousin and this incredible pioneer could possibly be the same person. In yet another location, Zhang Xiaoya and a male pioneer from the lava cave incident also watch the video. The man recognizes Fang Yi's fighting stance and points out how much stronger he has become, while his companion notes that the way he wields his blade is identical, realizing they were incredibly lucky to have had such a powerful figure on their side. The news of Fang Yi's public display of power reaches the highest levels of the nation's two main organizations. Inside a sleek, modern skyscraper, likely the association headquarters, the city's crisis seems to be getting worse, with the current pioneers struggling to keep up. In a high-level meeting room, Su Qingying addresses a group of officials. She informs them that the military has already been in deep communication with Fang Yi, and she expresses her firm belief that he will agree to help them. Meanwhile, in a military command center, Ji Ruoyan, Major Han Li, and other officers discuss the new intelligence. They are astounded by his rapid progress, calling him a monster for reaching the spirit creation realm so quickly. They debate how many high-tier attributes he could possibly possess, with one officer concluding it must be 3 or even more. They agree that trying to intimidate him was foolish, and that their only option is to recruit him. Major Han Li asks if the High Command has decided to approach him personally. Ji Ruoyan confirms they have, but adds that the top brass is still hesitant to humble themselves, as all previous top-tier pioneers have come from within the military's own ranks. Taking charge, Major Han Li outlines their new strategy. He orders his subordinates to find out what new weapons or equipment Fang Yi might need and to provide him with information on suitable training locations as a gesture of goodwill. He also gives a crucial final command. The viral livestream video and all the rumors spreading from it must be properly managed and controlled. The entire spiritual energy circle in the Xia Nation has now turned its attention toward Fang Yi. Both Su Qingying and Ji Ruoyan think about his future. Su Qingying appears concerned about the immense pressure he now faces, while Ji Ruoyan wears a slight, confident smile. Both women, leaders of their respective groups, eagerly await to see what this extraordinary young man will do next. In a quiet hospital room, a heart monitor beeps steadily. A mysterious woman with long purple hair sits by the bedside of an unseen patient, whom she calls her teacher. She speaks softly, telling the patient that the Xia Nation seems to have found a new hope. With the appearance of a person as powerful as Fang Yi, she adds, the chances of her teacher finally waking up have become a little higher. One day later, back at the apartment, Fang Yi is having breakfast and thinking about the previous day's events. He reflects on how the news of his battle in the back mountain went viral, all because a daring live streamer had managed to sneak into the restricted area for views. As he eats, he notes that the video has since been completely removed from the internet and the live streamer's account has been banned, correctly assuming it was the work of the military or the Spiritual Energy Association. His casual thoughts are suddenly interrupted as he realizes something is wrong. His cousin, Lin Yi, never came home the previous night and hasn't sent him any messages. He finds this very unusual, even if she was out on a mission. A feeling of unease grows as he tries to call her, but the call goes directly to an out-of-service message. Now genuinely worried, he knows something must be wrong and decides he has to go find her. Meanwhile, deep in a dark and misty forest, Lin Yi and the red-haired leader of her pioneer squad are lost and trapped. The leader asks Yi if she has any idea how long they've been stuck there. Yi estimates it's been about 10 hours, but she can no longer keep track. The red-haired leader, looking exhausted and bruised, apologizes greatly, blaming herself for dragging Yi into this mess. She admits she thought they were just investigating a strange phenomenon. As she speaks, she clutches her side in pain. Yi tells her to stop apologizing, insisting that it was her own lack of strength that was the problem. She urges her leader to stay alert and save what little energy they have left. As she tries to stay strong, her thoughts drift to the overwhelmingly powerful master she witnessed, wishing she had even a fraction of his power to save them. Their desperate conversation is cut short as a massive, shadowy monster with glowing red eyes and a menacing, spiky form appears in the fog directly behind them. The shadowy monster lunges from the fog, its claws aimed at the red-haired leader. Reacting with incredible speed, Lin Yi shoves her companion out of the way, shouting a warning. She then unleashes a blast of bright blue spiritual energy from her hand, creating a sharp blade of light that cleanly cuts off the attacking creature's head. As they get to their feet, more of these shadowy, zombie-like figures come out of the fog. Yi realizes with horror that these must be the reanimated bodies of other people who were trapped and died in this place. After defeating one of the creatures, which dissolves into a puddle of black mist, Yi explains that the main monster is just playing with them, turning its victims into these strange puppets. The The red-haired leader adds that their attacks have no real effect on the mist itself, and their spiritual energy is being drained quickly, all while the real enemy stays hidden. They soon realize they are trapped in some kind of illusion created by the monster, a swirling gray space where the creature seems unbeatable. It is a waiting game. The monster is just letting them get tired. A bead of sweat rolls down the leader's face as the seriousness of their hopeless situation sinks in. Suddenly, the sky above them tears open to reveal a single, massive, blood-red eye staring down at them. The leader screams Yi's name in terror. The eye is a gross, pulsating ball of flesh that begins to bubble and multiply, splitting into numerous smaller, slimy eyeballs. Angry and desperate, the red-haired leader lashes out, furiously chopping at the flying eyeballs and destroying several of them in a frenzy. Yi, however, senses a change in the creature's energy and warns her leader not to be careless, realizing that their enemy is finally losing its patience. The main eye then unleashes a powerful, concentrated blast of red energy. Yi manages to put up a crystal barrier just in time, but the force of the impact is huge. The barrier shatters, and Yi finds herself alone, surrounded by dozens of the glowing red eyes in the heavy darkness. She feels her hope fade, wondering if this is how she is going to die. Trapped in the monster's dark domain, Lin Yi is slowly being eaten by shadowy tendrils. She can no longer hear her leader's voice and realizes they have both been swallowed by the darkness. A wave of regret washes over her as she apologizes to herself for being overconfident, admitting she was wrong to think they could handle such a dangerous mission alone. As she accepts her fate, her mind wanders to the future she will never see, wondering what the world will be like after the full spiritual energy revival. With a final thought of despair, she laments that she will never see the magnificent era to come as she reaches out a hand, sinking into the abyss of glowing red eyes. Tears stream down her face as she closes her eyes, ready for the end. Just as all hope seems lost, a massive explosion of brilliant blue light erupts, tearing the darkness apart. A figure bursts through the shadows, radiating an immense aura of crackling blue energy. It is Fang Yi, his eyes glowing with power. He remarks to himself that he almost didn't make it in time. Yi stares in utter shock and disbelief, tears still fresh on her cheeks, as she recognizes her rescuer and gasps his name, identifying him as her cousin. With a powerful blast of divine thunder, Fang Yi completely shatters the monster's shadowy domain. He lands gracefully in the now clear forest, his hand still sparking with leftover electricity. He has saved both his cousin and her unconscious leader. Yi can only stare, her world turned upside down by the stunning revelation that her seemingly ordinary and lazy cousin is, in fact, an incredibly powerful pioneer. The battle is not over yet. The true form of the anomaly, a grotesque, multi-eyed, fleshy orb, appears from the shadows behind Fang Yi. Yi snaps out of her shock and desperately shouts a warning, telling him that the creature's main body is behind him. Fang Yi, however, is not worried. His hand ignites with the golden red energy of skyfire as a confident smirk spreads across his face. He sees this as the perfect opportunity to test the effect of his new power on a dark attribute creature. He leaps into action, unleashing his Crimson Flame Blade technique. The attack, now strengthened by the inextinguishable power of Skyfire, completely engulfs the monster in a raging fire. The creature lets out a final, agonizing shriek as it is burned by the divine flames. In the aftermath, the red-haired leader slowly regains consciousness. She finds herself and Yi sitting safely on the ground, surrounded by a protective circle of fire. Confused and terrified, she asks Yi if they have died and been dragged to hell along with the monster. Yi, now much calmer, reassures her leader, telling her to look closely and that they are still alive. Still trying to process what has happened, the leader repeats Yi's words in disbelief before asking who saved them. Fang Yi casually walks towards his cousin and her leader, a small smile on his face as the protective flames die down. He tells them the problem is solved and, noticing the time, remarks that they must not have had breakfast yet. The red-haired leader stares at him, her eyes widening in sudden, dawning recognition. She springs to her feet, her expression one of pure excitement and awe. She points at Fang Yi, confirming that he is the one who saved them before in Yanghuo Town from the monstrous death vine. Fang Yi looks slightly surprised, thinking to himself that he was recognized so easily. Lin Yi is completely stunned by this new revelation. She asks her leader if she's saying that the powerful fire attribute master who saved them from the vine was also her cousin. The leader turns to Yi, equally shocked by the connection, and asks how this supermaster could possibly be her cousin, reminding Yi that she had described him as a completely ordinary person. Fang Yi can only scratch the back of his head with an awkward smile. The leader, still buzzing with excitement, grabs Yi's shoulders. She reminds her that this is the same savior who defeated the Desolation Vine with a single, incredible slash. Yi's mind races, trying to connect the dots. She realizes her cousin is indeed the high-level fire user, but she is still confused, as she just witnessed him use an incredibly pure and powerful thunder attribute to destroy the monster's dark mist. Her thoughts spiral as she fully grasps the implications. The immense power of both his fire and thunder abilities means he is a super genius with dual high-grade attributes. Then, another, even more shocking realization hits her as she remembers the immense spiritual disturbance in her neighborhood, the one that signaled a breakthrough to the legendary spirit creation realm. She wonders if that incredible display of power was also her cousin's doing. Tired of the confusion, Fang Yi cuts in and confirms that yes, it was all him. He then changes the subject, asking them about the dark attribute anomaly. He says that they should have known this type of creature was not to be taken lightly, and asks why only the two of them came, and where the rest of their teammates were. The red-haired leader explains that their other teammates were unavailable. One was sick and grounded at home, while another was on a more difficult mission, clarifying that their squad doesn't always operate as a full unit. Yi then admits it was her own fault, confessing that she had become reckless after her recent breakthrough and wrongly believed she could handle the mission alone. Fang Yi listens, his expression thoughtful. He recalls the infighting he witnessed within their team before. He notes that the leader, who had been openly critical of her teammates, is now defending them to an outsider. He sees her loyalty, and he knows his smart cousin has likely sensed the team's instability as well. With his identity now revealed to two people he feels he can trust, he makes a proposition. He turns to his cousin and her friend and asks if they would like to form a team with him. Both women are stunned into silence for a moment before the red-haired leader erupts with joy. She clasps her hands together, overjoyed at the prospect of teaming up with such a powerful master and exclaiming that she is incredibly lucky to benefit from Yi's connection. Yi, however, is having a more profound realization. She understands that a pioneer as powerful as her cousin must have known her secret all along and had been quietly watching over her. The thought that on this difficult and lonely path of cultivation, she has a reliable and powerful family member helping her without asking for anything in return brings her an overwhelming sense of happiness and relief. A single tear of gratitude rolls down her cheek. Wiping it away, she flashes a bright, happy smile and a peace sign at her cousin, thanking him greatly and promising to make him 2 extra eggs for dinner. Just then, Yi's phone buzzes with a notification. She announces that Sister Jiaolan, the mysterious and powerful member of their pioneer group, has just posted a new mission. The message is an alert for a high-risk collection task in a place called the Extreme Dark Zone, which is explicitly stated to be related to the dark attribute. Jiaolan's message ends with a stern warning for everyone to think very carefully before signing up. Fang Yi asks if they know about this zone. Yi explains that it is a border area that is strictly forbidden by the Xia Nation. The dark attribute energy there is so overwhelmingly powerful that most pioneers make it a point to avoid the area entirely. She adds that most of the strange anomalies that have been appearing in their city are actually energy leakages from this forbidden zone. Because of the extreme danger, even the government has been unable to explore it deeply, as past attempts have resulted in severe accidents. Intrigued, Fang Yi suggests they should give it a try and asks Yi to message Jiaolan for more specific details about the mission's content. Yi replies that it's useless, as Jiaolan is famously mysterious and rarely says more than a few words at a time. Fang Yi considers this information. He deduces that for Jiaolan to be able to issue a mission in a top-secret government-controlled area, she must either be an incredibly bold rogue going against the authorities, or she holds a high-ranking position within the military or the Spiritual Energy Association. He concludes that the latter is far more likely. Despite her doubts, Yi, using her online handle Feng Heiju, sends a message to Jiaolan, stating her interest in signing up and asking for more details. To both her and the red-haired leader's surprise, Jiaolan replies with uncharacteristic detail. The mission is to collect something called a shizai flower. She warns that while the rewards for this mission are much higher than usual, all the dangers within the extreme dark zone are related to the dark attribute. and the risk level is far greater than anything they have encountered before. She explicitly advises all pioneers to form teams before attempting the mission. The two women are stunned by how thorough her response is, as it's completely out of character for her. A moment later, another, even more direct message from Jiaolan arrives. She warns that the mission could involve an S-level anomaly and that the death rate is extremely high, urging them to reconsider. Then, she adds a final, thinly veiled piece of advice. If you have a strong and reliable pioneer to team up with, it's not too late to sign up. Elsewhere, the mysterious purple-haired woman from the hospital, who is revealed to be Jiaolan, walks down a corridor flanked by guards. She looks at her phone and thinks to herself that she's done all she can. It is now up to that person to decide if they are willing to accept the challenge. Back in the park, Fang Yi smirks, having completely understood the subtext. He tells Yi Yi that Jiaolan's message isn't just a warning, it's a direct and personal invitation. He translates the hidden meaning, "I know who you are. I know a pioneer of your caliber would be interested, and I'm daring you to come." Fang Yi realizes with certainty that this entire mission posting was aimed directly at him. Looking out at a vision of the dark and desolate landscape of the extreme dark zone, he finds the prospect interesting and decides he will indeed be making a trip there. Lin Yi, using her online name Feng Heju, officially accepts the mission, telling Jiaolan that her team has 3 people. The scene changes to a hospital waiting area, where Jiaolan is walking with 2 female helpers. One of them is worried about the small size of the team that just signed up. Jiaolan, however, is calm and confident. She says that if he is a pioneer that the Xia nation can truly trust, he will come. The helper asks more, worrying about what will happen to the other pioneers if he doesn't show up. Jiaolan simply replies that if he doesn't come, then it means their fates were not meant to be. As they walk, a smirk appears on Jiaolan's lips. She asks her helpers if they really believe the purpose of a mission to collect the Shizai flower is to send powerful pioneers to their deaths. She explains that the true goal of this incredibly dangerous task is the exact opposite of what it seems. A vision reveals what the flower is. It blooms from a dark, evil pool, fed by the bodies and souls of fallen pioneers. Jiaolan says that getting this flower is a necessary step to strengthen the nation, as it is the only way to save even more pioneers in the long run. The reason for this mission, she explains, is to protect both the future main strength of the Xia nation, represented by the new generation of pioneers like Fang Yi and his team, who are shown traveling to the mission on a subway, and to revive the top-tier fighting force that has already died in battle. They arrive at the hospital room of her teacher, the comatose elderly man. Holding his hand, she repeats their goal. They must get more Shizai flowers at any cost. She reveals his identity and the great importance of their mission. Her teacher is the only pioneer in the entire Xia nation to have reached the legendary Jinggang realm, and the Shizai flower is the only thing that can wake him from his coma. Jiaolan explains the huge strategic value of such a person. After the full spiritual revival, a Jinggang realm powerhouse is like a modern-day nuclear weapon, making him the nation's greatest asset in talks with other countries. From her point of view, sacrificing a few pioneers or even entire squads is a worthy price to pay for his return. Her helper, however, gets concerned for Jiaolan's own well-being, telling her that while the mission is important, her health is too. The comment causes a dark reaction. Jiaolan's face darkens as she repeats the words, "My health is important." She suddenly explodes with rage and sadness, shouting that her life is indeed important, but only because it was a gift, paid for by the lives of her fallen comrades who died to save her. She clutches her head, hit with a sudden, intense pain, a physical sign of her trauma. After a moment, she calms down and apologizes for her outburst. One of her helpers asks if her headache is acting up again. Jiaolan dismisses their concern, saying it's not yet time for her medicine. A vision of her former happy team flashes in her mind, and she looks away with a sad, tired expression, murmuring that it's all in the past. The story flashes back to a traumatic memory from Jiaolan's past. In a dark, empty landscape, a voice screams for the sword-wielding squad to leave immediately. A younger Jiaolan kneels among the bodies of her fallen comrades as her dying captain tells her the mission to get the Shizai flower is now in her hands. As she trembles in despair, thinking of her teacher and her country, she realizes the extreme dark zone is a truly unforgiving place. She screams in protest, refusing to leave her captain. In his final moments, the captain places his hand on hers, transferring his spiritual energy to her. He tells her he hopes their powers will be of use to her and pleads with her to make it back alive. Back in the present, Jiaolan stands in the hospital, thinking about that tragic day. She reveals the bitter irony of her team's sacrifice. They gave her their power, but they didn't know that a shizai flower is useless if it is touched by blood or not picked perfectly whole, meaning their mission failed even as they saved her life. Later, after a long journey, Fang Yi's new team arrives at the empty outskirts of the extreme dark zone. The red-haired leader complains about the long walk. She asks why they don't just fly, given their power. Yi explains that even for pioneers, flying for a long time is not possible until one's spiritual energy is overwhelmingly large. Fang Yi remains silent, his glowing red eyes focused on their destination. They finally arrive at a massive, heavily guarded checkpoint that marks the entrance to the zone. Beyond rows of tank traps and fencing, they see a shimmering blue energy barrier. Fang Yi confirms that this must be the extreme dark zone. Even from a distance and through the multiple barriers, he can feel the deeply unpleasant aura of the dark attribute coming through. Yi and her leader are clearly disturbed by the heavy energy, with the leader saying that it's 1,000 times more terrifying than the monster they fought before. Fang Yi simply tells them to stay calm. He then points out that they are not the only ones who have answered the call. A large, diverse crowd of other pioneers has already gathered at the checkpoint, waiting for the mission to begin. Yi guesses that the pioneers are not just here for the big reward. She explains that the dark attribute is known to be very difficult to deal with, ruthless, and naturally hostile to humans. However, with the increasing number of violent dark attribute monsters appearing in the cities, pioneers have realized they can no longer afford to ignore the source of the problem. Many have come here to face the threat directly and find a way to fight back. The red-haired leader agrees with her logic, and Fang Yi looks on with a slight smile, impressed by his cousin's sharp mind. The scene shows the various wild pioneers, each with unique gear and styles, all waiting for the gates to open. As they wait, Fang Yi explains his reason for taking on such a dangerous mission. He says that he has already faced dark attribute monsters twice before. The first was the mutated rabbit, which was more like some kind of gross, rat-like beast. The second was the serpent and its rat-like partner, Candle Knight, a smart pair that worked together to lure and trap pioneers, a mission that nearly wiped out an entire squad from the Spiritual Energy Association. He explains that the most important detail, as his cousin Yiji correctly pointed out, is that these creatures seem to be cleverly and purposely bypassing the military defenses at the city's borders. He suspects they are using some unknown method to get into urban areas, and these incidents have happened so often that they can no longer be ignored. The situation has become so bad that if they don't face the source, the cities will eventually be overrun. Therefore, he concludes, they have no choice but to go to the extreme dark zone. At the checkpoint, a military officer watches as Su Qingying briefs a group of pioneers before the energy barrier. She stands with a grim and serious expression, ready for the dangerous mission ahead. Her focus is broken when she spots a familiar group approaching. She is completely shocked to see Fang Yi walking up with Lin Yi and the red-haired leader. Her green-haired subordinate, Zhang Xiaoya, is equally surprised and calls out to her, but Su Qingying is frozen, covering her mouth in a panic. She silently prays that the great master won't notice her in the crowd, but her hopes are crushed when Fang Yi looks directly at her, a questioning look on his face as he calls out her name, identifying her as Captain Su. Resigned, Su Qingying walks over with her cloaked squad members, having already received military information about Fang Yi's team. The red-haired leader, always mischievous, sizes up the beautiful silver-haired girl and asks Fang Yi if this is Yi's sister-in-law, a teasing term for a potential girlfriend. The suggestion sends both Yi and Su Qingying into a panic. Su Qingying blushes and waves her arms, exclaiming what a huge misunderstanding it is. Fang Yi calmly clarifies that she is not, explaining that she is Captain Su from the Spiritual Energy Association who helps him out with miscellaneous tasks. This explanation, however, only seems to make Su Qingying more flustered, as she finds the description even more annoying than the romantic idea. Their conversation is interrupted by a loud, arrogant voice. An imposing older man in heavy red armor with two other armored pioneers steps forward and calls them a bunch of shameless brats. He complains loudly that the new generation of pioneers is younger and more disrespectful, not even greeting their elders. He scolds them for talking casually in such a dangerous place. He finishes with a sarcastic comment, saying he hopes they can all rely on each other inside the extreme dark zone. The red-haired leader gets angry, but Yi holds her back, trying to calm the situation. Fong Yi calmly steps between them, signaling for his teammate to calm down. Not intimidated, the red-haired leader points a finger at the arrogant man, telling him to mind his own business and warning him that it's anyone's guess who will be scared to death inside. The man's expression turns into an angry glare. Just then, the sound of an approaching vehicle breaks the tension. The man smirks, seeing that their car has arrived. A large armored transport with police lights pulls up, and its back doors open. The mysterious Jiaolan steps out, and her presence immediately gets the attention of every pioneer there. The crowd gasps, recognizing the infamous Sister Jiaolan. She walks forward with an air of authority, with her guards on either side as the pioneers murmur in awe, wondering who she is to deserve such a grand entrance. Fong Yi watches her approach and figures out her purpose. She is the one who will open the gate for them. Jiaolan stands before the massive, crackling blue energy barrier. She raises her hand, gathering a swirl of pure energy until a glowing blue symbol forms in her palm. With a powerful push, she shoves the symbol forward, and the huge energy barrier tears open, revealing a dark path into the forbidden zone. With the gate now open, the S-Class mission has officially begun.